10, 9.
You want answers? I want the truth!
Get ready for two guys who can't handle the truth.
I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
But we can. Dave Palumbo, Chris Aceto. RXMuscle.com presents Heayy Muscle Radio. Watch out!
Welcome to another episode of Heayy Muscle Radio. I'm Dave Palumbo, and I'm joined, as always, by the technician, Chris Aceto, on this October 8th, 2018 evening. And Chris, wow, we're in October. I can't believe it.
Insane. It's insane, and thanks to global warming, it's nice in Maine.
Well,
I know
good.
it's not where you are.
It's always nice here. And Halloween's coming up. Everywhere we go, it's Halloween, this, Halloween, that. We took my son to Lowe's because they had my mother-in-law told me they had this big Halloween display there, which they had taken down. I don't know if they had the whole thing up there, but they had a lot of Halloween stuff. And I figured my son would be petrified. They have these new things now, all these little spooky, haunted little things you can buy for the house. You push the button, and they do all kinds of spooky voices and stuff. My son was laughing hysterically at them. Like, he didn't know if he was looking at me like, should I be scared of this? And he just wasn't, And I was glad he wasn't, because I didn't want to get traumatized by it. But I was like laughing at him. He was more interested in seeing the guy cut the wood. I bought a piece of wood I had to get cut or something like that, and they had to put it on the saw, and he was fascinated by that.
What was he so fascinated about?
He likes anything like if you repair things and any kind of mechanical stuff he's into, which is funny because I'm not that I can't do the stuff. I'm not that interested by it because I have so much other stuff going on. My father was traumatized by that because he claims his father traumatized him, but my grandfather was very handy. So my wife's like, we already paid for his college. She's like, we paid for his college. We'll probably wind up not even going to college. I said, whatever makes him happy. That's what he'll do.
Yeah, I don't know how to do any of that stuff either.
Yeah, and it's like I said, it's not that my father was traumatized by it was just like so traumatic to do anything. I'm not like that. I'm just not interested. There's a difference. I just don't. I like it. Like, I like watching guys build things and stuff like that. But I'm like, you know what? I'm not that interested to sit down and figure it out myself at this point, or even have anyone teach me.
Dave, you were like me. Do you cut your lawn, yes or no?
No, of course not.
Exactly. I've never cut my lawn, and I just...
My wife would love to do it. She would love to, if I bought her one of those the things you can drive, the mower drive, because we have a big property. She would do it in 2 seconds. Although she doesn't have any time either now. She claims she'd love to do it, but she used to mow her own lawn with a push mower. When I first met her. When she had time.
Two young kids. You got a ball and socket or whatever it is around your ankle for the next 20 years.
You know what? I always said, there's certain things I could do anything. And I think you can too. If we wanted to, I could figure out anything, right? If I had no money and I had to do everything for myself and build things, and I could do it. I know I could. But the bottom line is, you have to. Time is money. It's the old trite saying. And you have
Dave, I do stuff like people try to teach me stuff and they'll tell me stuff. And I said, you know what, Jim, I'm not even paying attention. It looks like I'm paying attention. I'm not even paying attention because I'm never going to do it. So I'm not even. Right. I'm not going to try to pay attention. I'm sorry, but
yeah,
Yeah,
it's true. My wife gets mad at me that she's always like, you're always just hire someone. I'm like, yeah, because it's not worth wasting the time. I can make way more money doing other things.
Well, do you know the guy from Shark Tank, the guy who sits on the right from Canada?
I like him, yeah. Robert.
Robert. His father taught him to hire the best people because you're never going to learn how to do everything. And he says, I don't know how to do anything. I only know how to find the right people. His whole career, he said, I've only been good at finding the right people.
And that's important. My problem is I find all the wrong people to work for me.
Well, you learn the lesson who not to hire, I guess, right?
Right. I understand the concept of having to hire people to do things for you, but I always hire the wrong people because I'm too nice. That's the problem. Let my emotions get in the way of hiring, which is the worst thing you can do.
Brutal. You got to be, everyone. You got to come from the perspective everyone's going to rip you off or try to rip you off. It's in a very negative way, but
that's what the problem is. I can't live my life in such a negative space.
I just said it's a very negative.
But you're right, it is.
That's the way I live mine.
People who don't have problems with that, they hire the right people.
Yeah. Me and my son went to order sandwiches today at the mall.
Yeah.
And they ordered us we went and sat down, and they ordered us the wrong sandwich. I wondered if he was going to get intimidated. I wrapped him up, and I said, bring these back. Tell them they're the wrong sandwich. We want the right sandwich, and we want a discount.
Did they?
I knew the discount thing would drive him, would scare him to death.
Yeah, you got him all upset.
Yeah, I wanted to see how he would do. So he was up there talking, and then I went up and I said, is there an issue here?
Yeah.
We got the wrong sandwich. And she said, no. And she gave us a discount.
Nice. So he liked that, huh?
Well, he didn't like having to go up and try to, he was way too nervous. I could see him. Oh, man.
But did he like the outcome? He felt good after the outcome. Yeah. So I just, right before we started filming, we always film this on Sunday night usually. I was watching the show that I had taped earlier from today, Killer Couples. I talked about this earlier, and probably about 6 months ago I had taped a segment on this episode. It's Oxygen Networks on TV there, on cable TV. It's their most popular show. It's called Killer Couples. It's like different couples that have killed people, and they tell the story. And this was about Craig Titus and Kelly Ryan. I don't know I forget how they got in touch with me. I had done a video on Kelly
people
being
don't
released.
Remember, you got to review for people.
Yeah, I will. But I did a video on Kelly Ryan being released from prison about a year and a half ago, and they saw it on the Oxygen Network, and because they were doing their reconnaissance for the show. They contacted me. They flew out here, and I met them in a hotel, and they filmed for like almost over an hour and a half with me. They use a couple minutes of everything you say, but that's how all these things work. But if people don't remember, in 2005, Kelly and Craig, we don't know exactly what happened, although the show really does shed a lot more light than I knew even. Killed Melissa James, their personal assistant there, who was living with them, having a relationship with them too, from what people say. And it was a crazy, crazy story. I mean, you must remember. I'm sure you remember it when it went down, Chris. It was like, oh my God.
Yeah, because I was in weirdly in disbelief.
Yeah.
Like when someone told me, I'm like, stop, come on. But there was
you were in disbelief, but you really weren't.
There was internet, but it wasn't, people weren't so connected. And, next thing I knew, I turned on NBC Nightly News at 6:30, and Tom Brokaw, someone comes on and says, someone's been spotted in Boston or something. There was a man out for them.
The interesting thing about that is you were shocked, but you weren't shocked, because if anyone in our industry had to go down, with you would have to say, hey, Craig would probably be the guy I'd expect this to happen to. The first time I couldn't think of anyone else. Like if I had to sit here and say who else could have gotten involved in a murder, I couldn't have given you a name of someone.
Did he throw his trophy off the stage the year? That was the first year I saw you compete.
Phil Hernon won.
Yes, and you were in the USA. It was in Denver, and you were the biggest and the hardest.
Thank you.
And because someone said, "Oh, Dave Palumbo, something weight," I said, "He's gonna." No one weighs such and such weight and is in shape, and you were in shape at that.
It was
weight.
like the big Rami thing. You can't be 300 and be in shape.
Yeah, whatever you were. What was your weight? Which was unheard of at the time.
I was 258 at the Junior Nationals 2 weeks before, and then I was probably 254. I probably went too light. I probably when Dorian said he overdied, I probably could have been 260.
Because you're probably afraid of the weight. I mean, there was just such a shocking weight.
Yeah, well, no one weighed that much. I was like, I got to be shredded,
No, and Titus, did he chuck the trophy into the audience or off the stage?
He took his medal off, I think, on stage.
He wanted to pull a Khabib, actually.
Yeah, he pulled his medal
the
off.
Audience.
Yeah, he pulled his medal off, and then backstage, I think he threw he broke his trophy or something like that. Oh. He didn't do it on stage, but I think he walked off stage early though.
Yeah.
But that was Craig. Craig was half of Craig's career. It was about over dramatizing things and being a character. He was playing a role. He was a hothead, but he was also playing a role. He knew once he made it, he kind of knew what his role was, and he just kind of lived. But the problem was he tried to live the role off the stage too, and I think that's where he got into trouble. He wanted to be that perennial bad boy, and I don't think he murdered Melissa James purposely. What I think happened, if you watch the show, and you can go to the Oxygen Network, if you don't have it on TV, you can go to oxygen.com, and look up Killer Couples. You'll see it's the latest episode. You can watch it. It's a good show. I thought they did a good job on it. And like I said, it was more revealing as to what actually went down. And the interesting thing is, I'm pretty sure that Kelly and the girl got into a fight. They were accusing her over she was stealing their credit cards, the girl, Melissa. And, she stole Kelly's identity, supposedly. And obviously, the girl was sleeping with Craig, So Kelly obviously started really fighting with her. And Craig stepped in to break them up, and he put her in a headlock. And I think he just, he squeezed too hard. They were all on tons of drugs they were doing. And I think she died by accident. And you know what? I think if they would have called the cops at that point and told them what happened, and Craig said, "Look, I just stepped in. I tried to, save my wife, and I overreacted, or I overdid it, or whatever." And it is what it is. I think he probably would have done some time, but it would have probably been less than 10 years. Involuntary manslaughter, whatever. He didn't have any violent history of any violent crimes or anything like that. So I think they would, and Kelly probably would have gotten probation or something like that. They made the stupidest decision of all time. And, Kelly's out now, but Craig will be in there probably for the next, 10, 15 years, if not more, maybe 20 years. I don't even know. He's already been in there, 18 years? So.
Wow.
Oh, no, he's been in there 13 years? So it happened in 2005. Yeah, so he's been in 13 years. He'll probably do another 13 at least, I would think, if not more.
Now, is he able to get mail and that type of stuff?
Yeah, he is.
So, I mean...
I was writing him for a while. I was writing me.
I was just going to ask you if
years ago.
The Outsiders had contacted him.
Years ago. He contacted me. He wanted me to... he wanted to give me information on Steve Blackman or something like that.
No, sir.
Yeah, but there was ridiculous stuff. It was like... it wasn't true. I know it wasn't true. I checked around.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even going to go there because of it. And as much as, look, Steve and I break his balls, but I would never spread information about his family and stuff like that. I knew it wasn't true. It would have been a good story. I mean, believe me, if it was true, it would have been great. Craig definitely is an orchestrator of trouble, but
yeah, orchestrator.
It just wasn't. I just knew it wasn't true, so I wasn't going to look, we're about the truth here. People don't like the truth, sometimes, but I'm about the truth. I really am. So, it came out good. I thought I came off pretty well. It was kind of like a short, it was probably an hour, but it went fast. I thought they portrayed the story well. They had some actors who went in, who kind of like were reenacting what was going on. And it was really, the stupidest crime of all time. They were just completely dummies the way they try to cover up what happened. They were like, they told the cops they were sleeping. That they believed that Melissa James came into their house, because she had lived there before, and taken the Jaguar and left. They're like, you didn't hear anything, Meanwhile, they checked their credit card statements. They found that they were buying lighter fluid at like Walmart, at like 3 a.m. when they were supposedly sleeping. They have them on surveillance cameras doing it. It was just the stupidest crime. The truth of the matter is, the way they really got caught was what they were going to do is they put the body in the trunk of their Jaguar, and they were going to burnt the car. So they needed a ride out to the desert. Now, Craig had a truck. Why Craig didn't drive his truck and Kelly drive her Jaguar, I have no idea. They called up this other guy. He was like a super fan of theirs, this Anthony Gross guy. And they said, we need you to pick us up. Come to the house and follow us. We're burning the car. This kid just thought they were doing like an arson job on the car. He didn't know that there was anyone. He didn't know there was a body in the trunk. So
Crazy. When
they found out that this guy was involved, they got him in for questioning, and he broke down, and he came with a lawyer too, and he still broke down and told them everything. And he's like, "Look, I didn't know. They just, they asked me to give him a ride to the desert. They wanted to get rid of the car. I'm sorry. I saw it on the news. So if they hadn't gotten that guy involved, okay, then all that wouldn't have come up. Like, they would have never known that they could have. How would they have known Craig left the house? But they did make some. I know how they caught him. Craig was made like 40 phone calls to this guy on his cell phone during the hours he should have been sleeping. So, had Craig not called this guy, and Kelly and him would have done the job themselves, even though it was a botched job, they still probably wouldn't have got caught, because there's no way to link Craig and Kelly to this person.
Well, eventually, eventually you turn over enough stones.
Well, they used their credit card to buy the lighter fluid too, which was really stupid. I mean, when they subpoenaed their credit card statements, they saw, and then when they looked at the surveillance at the Walmart there, wherever they bought it, they saw them on the camera loading up the Jaguar with lighter fluid, and they were putting it in the back seat of the car. You know why?
Why?
Because the trunk had the body in it. It was ridiculous. It was a terrible.
Criminal Minds got that. Why? Listen to me. Why? Because
Well, and the reason why they made such poor decisions, I believe, is because they hadn't been sleeping and they were on tons of drugs. So that's just the stupid way to be. So anyway, it was an interesting show. People wanted to check it out. It's on Oxygen. What'd you think? I haven't seen this fight. Everyone's asking me to comment on the fight, so we'll make a brief comment on this Conor McGregor fight. What was your take on the whole thing?
Well, he
lost, obviously. Yeah.
Obviously, Khabib. Well, you know what? It's he obviously has a big mouth. And
he had some problem with this Khabib guy where he, earlier, what is it, a year ago, he attacked the bus that was Khabib and some other athletes on. He threw something through the window.
Yeah, he threw like a dolly or something.
Yeah, he went crazy on these people. Yeah. And he obviously got arrested.
I think it was part of. we talk about Craig playing the bad boy act, right?
That's Conor's.
McGregor. Craig Titus, but Conor McGregor likes to stir the pot and shout his mouth off, and that's his shtick. Whether real or not, or I'm sure it's real combined with over the topness entertainment.
He's obviously got a couple screws loose because after all that money he made on that Floyd Mayweather fight, what did he make? $200 million?
I don't know.
He didn't need to be the bad boy anymore. He could have toned it down a little. Who cares at that point?
Well, because I think maybe he was probably scared of Khabib. Mm-hmm. And he wanted to do something like.
To mess with his head?
Muhammad Ali faked when he was going to fight Sonny Liston that he was having a heart attack. There's a film that Muhammad Ali meets Sonny Liston for the first time, and everyone was afraid of Sonny Liston, and he was the bear, and he was super quiet. This is like Khabib, quiet, like the quiet killer, and Muhammad Ali faked that he was having a heart attack to try to put some type of fear into. To throw him off his game going into the fight to Sonny Liston. So maybe Conor McGregor, took that dolly, whatever it was, and threw it through the bus to try to, give the impression that, wow, this guy's really off his rocker.
Right.
And, throw him off his game or scare him or intimidate him in some way. And there was just tons and tons of bad blood running into the...
Sure. So Khabib comes and beats him, which completely validates him as a fighter and that he's better than McGregor.
Yeah.
And he loses his mind and jumps in the audience and starts attacking McGregor's, fans or whatever, entourage there. And now they're talking about, possibly taking away the guy's win.
Well, if you go through the videotape, you do remember when Trump literally jumped into the audience. I'm serious. WWF when he was on WWF wrestling.
But that was
maybe they've been watching too much WWE. I don't know.
Yeah, but you know what the truth is? If this guy Khabib is obviously an imbecile because he just won a couple $1 million, and you know what? Probably he made a lot more money because
he won 4.
Oh, that's it? You sure?
But he got 4, and McGregor I think got 2 or 2 and 4. They split 5.
There's no way McGregor got less than Khabib. There's no way.
Okay, so McGregor got 3 and Khabib got 2. That's what it was.
Okay. Well, the bottom line is this guy made millions. Okay, off this fight.
Keeping it right now, the Nevada State Athletic Commission.
Well, my point is that this guy made money, and it was because of McGregor's antics. Because if he fought anyone else, he would have never been for that much money. I guarantee it.
You're right.
And so, in essence, he should thank McGregor for whatever it is. He didn't get it. He took everything personally, like you said. He blew up, and he did the stupid thing because he had won the fight. So it was ridiculous.
All he had to do
should have just laughed. He could have gone and done interviews with whoever whoever's interviewing, saying this dumbass, I just beat his ass. He could have insulted him to the end of the world now because on TV, which would have been way more damaging, I think, to Conor's than him actually having a physical assault on anyone. So now they want to like suspend him, whatever. I think it's ridiculous. He beat McGregor. He the win is the win. How he reacts afterwards, that requires disciplinary action. But the fight is a win. He won. He won the fight. What he does after the fight is irrelevant to the fight. That's my take on it.
I would agree with you.
If you want to strip him of the title because he's not worthy of being the champion, fine. But you can't take the win away from him. You can't take his money away from him.
Yeah. Just let him suffer the the future.
Suspend him for a year. Or 2 years if you want. For poor sportsmanship.
I agree. It was terrible sportsmanship. Even though it's not even though it was bad sportsmanship.
Now people are saying he's being penalized because of his religion. They'll bring anything into it just to try to get him out of this thing. So silly.
No, I mean the burden is on him, right?
Yeah.
I mean that's my comment on it. It was stupid. The burden is on him to behave. I mean, what the reality is, he could have jumped into the audience and someone innocently there who's a big fan of the sport, who's like a Pee Wee Herman type, could have got hurt, like in a serious way, maybe died. I mean, that's going to the extreme, but I mean, right? Someone could have got really hurt, and then
sure.
I mean, that's you always got to take.
You have to discipline the guy because you can't allow this stuff to go on because then other people will do it.
Well, the envelope, of course. The envelope's been pushed.
Yeah.
The boundary has been exceeded. So
I don't think we've ever seen this in the history of sports. Anything like that happen. That's crazy, right?
He did a Jimmy Snooker right into the crowd.
Yeah, but it wasn't. Unfortunately, this wasn't like a stunt, publicity stunt. It was done because he knew he was going to do it. Obviously.
Can you imagine being there ringside, 45 feet away, and
I know. The guy's hands are a deadly weapon, so it's just as bad as if he took a gun out and started shooting
the
at
flip
people.
side is one of his training partners or trainers jumped in to the ring.
Yeah, I heard that.
To try to take a shot at McGregor.
Yeah. So they had planned this all out ahead of time, which makes them look worse. At least you can say, in the heat of the moment, I was just pissed off, But when it's premeditated, that's not good. So he must have known he was going to beat McGregor pretty easily because, you would think.
I think he thought it was. I thought he.
I think McGregor's time has come and gone. His antics are what got him that fight with Floyd Mayweather. He cashed out. You know what? If I were him, I would have freaking retired after that. Who the freak needs to? He doesn't need to. He doesn't need to risk anything anymore. I mean, the guy has got tons of money. He can do whatever he wants. He doesn't need to fight anymore. Why put your health in jeopardy? At this point. But obviously, the guy's got a couple screws loose. And it's not enough. He was already the champion. I mean, what do you got to prove at that point?
Because it's nice to be in the limelight.
He could be in the light. He could be a commentator. He could be one of the greatest commentators on MMA of all time because people love to hear the guy talk.
Yeah.
Put him in a booth. Let him commentate on all these fights. Give him his own freaking TV show.
Maybe you can do the Olympia with me, you, and Sean Ray at the.
There you go.
That's the Arnold, I think, or something like that.
Yeah. I'm not talking about that yet. Chris is releasing secret documents already.
I'm just conjecture. It's all okay.
So what do you think is going on with the whole Phil Heath drama that's out there? So all right, so let's start.
He's suing Louis Marco over the stuff.
Let's start from the beginning. So Phil interviewed with us as I said he was going. I don't know if I even said he was the last show. Did I?
No,
I didn't hint because I didn't want to.
Everyone's waiting for part 2.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, Phil.
You're holding it.
Phil called me up. We're like best friends now. Phil called me up and said, we were talking about, some stuff, and I said, why didn't you want to interview with me? I don't get it. It was going to be a great interview, and I said, I'm kind of insulted. I said, I don't know. I know you went out the day after the Olympia. He said all this stuff, and that's why I had to do the rebuttal interview, the rebuttal rant, and telling people, who the hell would want to, answer Phil's questions? I want him to answer my questions. And so after we talked for a while.
What is your favorite cake?
Yeah. Yeah, all the fluff questions. I said, Phil, that's not who I am. No one's going to know who you are. I said, let me do my interview the way I want. So he agreed. He said, fine, I'll do the interview. So I knew about this. I didn't want to talk about it last week because you never know who's going to try to put the kibosh on it. So we filmed it. It was so good and it was so long that I broke it into 3 parts. As soon as I broke mine into 3 parts, Generations Iron's 3-part interview turned into a 4-parter. I don't know if you were aware of that.
Generation Irons, they're bleeping out the swear words, but they forget to bleep them all out. Makes no sense.
Are they really? I didn't even watch the interview.
Beep, beep,
I don't watch the interview. Yeah, I don't watch any other people's interviews. So he interviews with me, and we released part 1 this week. And there was so many people releasing Phil Heath stuff that I figured, all right, let's let part 1. Let's let people get some mileage out of part 1 first. And I know people have been driving me crazy for the rest of it because the rest of it, it's a progression. It's an evolution. It's like part 1 is like Phil and I kind of going back and forth with, what happened at the Olympia. Phil thinks he won. I'm trying to say this is what the judges told me and how I saw it. And, it was heated because, me, I don't back down from anyone. I don't kiss the interviewee's ass. And Phil was very, emotionally charged, and he had his opinion. So it came off good because it was real. It was like a debate almost. Part 2, we start getting into some more interesting details about Phil's life and what happened and what he's been going through and what makes him the champion he is and how he was so successful and why he was so successful. I think people are going to find that really interesting. A lot of people say, oh, Phil came off as an ass, part 1. I'm like, well, yeah, that's because he didn't agree with the decision. But you know what? Part 2, we start to learn what made Phil Phil. And part 3 is really good. Part 3 is like, Phil coming full circle and almost thanking me for doing the interview because he said it was the best interview I'd ever done because it really got a part of him out that he wasn't aware was even able to get out. I think people are going to really like the interview. I came off liking Phil at the end of the interview process because I knew this was in him because I've talked to him myself. Even though in private, like guest posings, backstage type of thing, and just sitting around bullshit. I just knew that wasn't the persona that he, depicts on stage is not who he really is. So I think people get a different viewpoint. Now, there's this other story that came out, and Nick's Strength and Power site picked it up. We had mentioned it on a radio show, but I didn't really go into detail about it because I didn't really know that much about it. No one really knows that much. The only people know about it is Phil and the guy it happened to. Phil had, something happened with a bracelet that's allegedly worth $100,000 that Phil had in his possession that was given to him by this football player, Jimmy Kennedy. And, there's allegations on both sides about the thing. And people probably assume that I asked him about it, but I didn't. And the reason is I talked to him about it. There's 2 sides of every story. And you know what? There's lawsuits involved. And to me, if I would have gone there, it would have taken away from the interview that I was doing with him. That wasn't the interview. I wasn't looking for a TMZ story on this interview. I was looking to find out and to paint a picture of who Phil Heath, 7-time Mr. Olympia, was. Mm-hmm. That's something that I didn't feel anyone had really accomplished.
I don't know.
Yeah, I did. And if I would have followed up on this story, it would have detracted, it would have wasted time, and it would have served no purpose because it really doesn't matter, if Phil has a bracelet or doesn't have a bracelet or what the real story was. Phil and this guy will deal with the real story, Phil's lawyers will deal with it, okay, because, people just know the story that's been put out by this football player. And I don't believe that's the whole story, to be honest with you, because I don't think anyone, his story is that he gave Phil this thing to hold for collateral for some loan Phil gave him or something like that, and Phil never gave it back. But I don't believe that, because I don't believe anyone would hand anyone a $100,000 bracelet to hold. First of all, I don't think it's worth that much. Secondly, I think that there's more story to it, and from what I talked to Phil behind, off the record, there is. So I'm not going there. I'm not getting involved. Now, this guy Nick is all butthurt, by Phil, threatening him with lawsuits and everything like that. And what the bottom line is? I understand what's going on. I don't know if anyone who've watched all this stuff. And I want to start off by saying, Chris, that I think this guy Nick's channel, Strength and Power, is a great channel. I think what he does is a good service. So I'm not trying to get into a war with him. This is not what this is about. I think that he also has the right to say what he wants and to cover stories, especially people who are in the news. And I don't think he really did anything wrong other than relate the story. It got a ridiculous amount of hits. As of course it is. It was a TMZ story he did. I could have done the same thing. I didn't want to. It wasn't what I was looking for. I was looking to interview Phil. I wasn't looking to do a TMZ story on Phil. And he didn't, he only knew the facts that he was able to know, and he allegedly said this is what, he didn't talk to Phil really. He talked to the guy. And Phil obviously was upset. And then Nick did this thing that I don't know why Phil's trying to sue me. He can't sue me, and this and that. And he said that I asked Phil if he wanted me to remove it, and he just said that he would hear from my lawyers. So I offered, he could have called me and asked me to remove it, and I would have removed it. That's what he was saying. Now, I want to defend Phil in a sense, because here's Phil. He's upset about this thing. He contacts the guy. All right, he did it in a manner with my lawyer is going to contact you. Nick should have said to him, I'm removing it, and that's it, because I don't know the whole story. Obviously, if Phil's that upset about the thing and has lawyers he's willing to pay money to sue this guy,
the lawyer could be just a fan, but go ahead.
Yeah, true, but I don't think so. I think Phil's got a real lawyer. He should have just removed it, and if he didn't want to, he should have not removed it, and he should have just stopped talking to Phil at that point. I think that Phil was rubbed the wrong way by this guy's attitude, and what the funny thing is,
Phil is rubbed the wrong way by anybody. But go ahead.
And once again, I'm trying to get in the mindset. I'm trying to get in the mindset of Phil. I'm trying to say, if I was in Phil's position, because Nick did nothing wrong. I mean, I'm a big believer in freedom of the press and the freedom to talk about this stuff, but only if you know the story. You got to have both sides. When I found out about I contacted Phil and I found out his side of the story. When I found out his side of the story, I decided not to pursue an interview with the guy who is claiming that Phil, did this to him. So,
but there is a bracelet involved. Right?
There is a bracelet, yeah, and Phil did pay back a lot of money to this guy.
So so the bracelet, if you pay back a lot of money, it's got to be worth. There's a bracelet involved worth a lot of money.
That money was given back to this guy. Now we don't know how much it's really worth.
Where this, I'm just playing devil's advocate. Yeah. Where there's smoke, there's fire. But
sure. So the bottom line, there's also orders of protection involved, and so it's a very, very complicated story. And once again, it has nothing to do with Phil losing the Olympia. So I don't know why. I don't really like to get into people's personal lives. To me, that's not really what we're about covering. We don't really. I mean, we might joke around with things that we hear about, but this is no one's business. Let Phil handle it in court with this guy. That's really what it amounts to. And sometimes, this is what I'm trying to get. There is a point here, because, like I said, I'm not trying to get into a war with Nick. Sometimes when you argue with someone and you go back and forth, you actually want an emotional response from the person. Talking to Nick and hearing his voice, it's like talking to you ever call like these like banks or something like that, and you get on this automated system, and it says, please say your social security number, and you say, and it says, we did not hear you. Can you please repeat your social security number? Sorry, we did not get that. Can you please repeat? And you start screaming at the phone. Fuck you! Because you just want to get someone on the phone who's a fucking human being and talk to him, right?
Zero.
You want to get someone on the phone of customer service, but you can't get through the fucking menu because there's 14 different automated buttons and this and that, and you have to talk this and click that, and you can't get to a human being. Finally, if you're lucky and you're persistent enough, and the thing doesn't hang up on you, you might get a customer service person on the phone. You're like, thank God. Please, this is what happened. Please help me.
Isn't it funny? Go ahead.
Yeah, and they'll help you normally. Hearing Nick's response, like when I'm watching that video, is like I feel like I'm listening to an automated service, an automated response system. That he's so methodical, he's so monotone, and no emotion to what he's saying. It's almost annoying, and I think that's what's bugging Phil. What Phil should have just said is, "Hey Nick, you know what? But please just take this thing down. You don't know the whole story. I'll give you the story once it's settled." He should have said that, but Phil's too proud, and that's where Phil went wrong. Phil just wanted this kid to take it down, and so they both stood on ceremony. So Nick was like, "Well, if you're not going to tell me to take it down, I'm not taking it down," And now Phil is like suing him, like trying to threaten him with lawsuits. Of course he's not going to take it down now because he's like, I didn't do anything wrong. So the whole thing just was not handled properly. And it goes back to this whole society that we're in now. We live in this like it's like an autonomous. It's like everyone's like little robots with these cell phones. No one talks to each other. And Phil and I discussed this in the interview. No one calls each other up anymore. Everyone's texting and emailing and messaging and so there's no communication between people. So things get lost in translation when that happens. That's what happened with Phil and I with the interview thing. I think when it was done through, he wanted me to send him the questions via email. I should have called him up. If I would have had his number, I would have called him and said, "Hey, Phil, this is what I want to ask you." And when he would have seen my tone and my emotionality about it, I think he would have been fine about it. So I think there's a lot of stuff that in today's society. And once again, I'm not trying to bash anyone. I'm not trying to put down Nick or Phil or anyone. I'm trying to just explain what happened here, I think. And it's not about hits, and it's not about who's right or wrong. It's just about what the right thing is. And Phil's personal life is really not relevant to his reign as Mr. Olympia. That's the way I feel about it. Well,
just to touch on, texting is not it's not a true, it's a way to communicate, but it can screw so many things up. I can't tell you how many times I've picked up the phone with someone and that I think like, oh my goodness, I think this guy thinks I'm like attacking him.
Yeah.
It might be like a plumber or something.
Yeah.
And it takes 2 seconds to clarify it. Like,
sure.
Yeah, just so you know, I have no time today, so I'm just throwing out texts left, right, and center. They're coming across way too aggressive. And he said, they are.
Pick up the phone. Pick up the phone. I tell people, look, there's, PJ Braun did a video this past weekend about him and Aaron Singerman are like ready to kill each other, pretty much. And he's really, really pissed, and they're in arbitration. If you watch this video, it's a whole thing on it. And like I said, I don't know who to believe. I think that they could both be full of crap. They obviously don't like each other, so they're both throwing, terrible, stuff at each other.
Yeah.
And it's, and it's not a story I care to cover because has nothing to do with whether I'm friends. I'm friends with both of them, so. Aaron is a sponsor of the site, but that means nothing. If there was a story to cover, there would be a story to cover. But it's not my business. They had a business relationship that something went wrong with, which was bound to happen. Whenever you make too much money, right, Chris? Something always goes wrong.
No, listen, business relationship, something goes wrong. Always translation. Somebody took some money that they weren't supposed to take. Always.
Yeah. Or someone believes that they did.
Yeah.
And. So that's not my business. Let them handle it in court. That's what court is for. It has nothing to do with covering bodybuilding. Our what we're doing here is we're covering the sport of bodybuilding. And anything related to bodybuilding is what I want to cover. Or the bodybuilding industry. So, like I said, we can get a lot more hits. Obviously, we cover controversial stuff like that, but it's not relevant. More relevant to me is getting Steve Carroll, the promoter of the NPC Nationals, to apologize before the Nationals this year, which will never happen.
Hell freezes over.
Yeah.
With global
you know what?
warming.
I'm gonna give out Steve Carroll's email. I'm gonna give out the NPC main office email, and I'm gonna tell everyone.
Give out a cell number like Trump gave out.
No, I'm not gonna do anything. I don't do personal stuff. That's personal is personal. But I'm saying I'm gonna have everyone who wants to see me at the Nationals send these guys an email and tell them that you're pissed off that you want Dave Palumbo to be apologized to, because I told them last year I'm not going unless I get an apology. And at the Olympia this year, J.M. Mannion came up to me and he said, "You should have called me after all that." Of course, I texted him after that. I said, "J.M., and his father was standing there, Jim. Steve Weinberg was standing there. Frank Zeppi was standing there, the NPC news editor-in-chief. And I said, "So, Jam, you did give me permission to be backstage, correct?" He goes, "Yeah, of course." I said, "All right, well, how come you didn't tell everyone? How come you didn't?" He's like, "You should have called me. I would have handled this." And, so everyone now knows in authority position, although they knew already, that I didn't do anything wrong because I was given permission by JM. So obviously Steve Carroll overreacted, which is what everyone agreed to. And if he overreacted and insulted me, and cost me the ability to cover the show the way I wanted to, and cost the athletes the coverage that they were going to get by me, and wasted my time and money of being there, then at least he should have done is I should get an apology from him. Okay, it could be a 1-sentence email saying, "I'm sorry, I overreacted." End the story. Okay, put it behind us. Look, I've made mistakes before. He made a mistake. Just admit it. That's all I'm asking for. You admit the mistake. We put it behind us and we move on. But I am not going to the show unless he does. So I'm gonna put out there to everyone listening to this. Contact him. You can go to the NPC Nationals website, get his email. You know, if he gets 1,000 or 2,000 or 3,000 emails, you know, he might think twice about wanting to apologize to me. But maybe not, and that's okay. I won't go to the Nationals. That's all. I don't have any. I'm invited to it. Jim Mannion said I can go. He's going to give me press passes, but I'm not going to go unless I get an apology, because I was disrespected there. And that's my rant. That's my rant. But that's relevant to bodybuilding. That's why I cover that. So instead of focusing on whether Phil Heath owes someone money for a stupid bracelet that really has no relevance to the sport of bodybuilding, go deal with the promoters that are not doing a good job out there, who are treating the press poorly.
Well, when you see me at the Nationals, Dave, that's just so that I can get out of my house. It's that weekend. Remember I said,
I like going there because I get to stay at your little condo there for a night.
Yeah.
And tell you good night stories.
Yeah.
While Chris gives up the bed and gives me the couch. I mean, Chris sleeps on the couch, gives me his bedroom, and as long as I tell him stories.
No, you do. You work till like 3 a.m. I say, you tell me Blackman stories and NASA imitations. It's like goes on.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. If Nasser was still alive, how great would it be to get him on like Iron Debate and stuff like that?
Oh my God, he
What would he say about the whole Phil Heath debacle?
Phil, he's really a middleweight with shot up shoulders and arms, and I'm twice Dorian would kill him, and then who knows what he'd say.
Yeah, he'd be like, and yes,
no one was good enough to Nasser.
And Phil gave me the bracelet to hold first, but I told him I do not want the responsibility for it. Nasser would know every freaking detail. He's so detail oriented. You and I can't remember anything. God. He'd be great because he'd be like reminding us of like.
Dave, I was at the Cheesecake Factory. The phone rang. It was Phil. And I was having chicken parmesan sandwich with my third ex-wife, and Milos had just the detail would be insane.
Milos had just given me.
Nasser
Yes.
was the ultimate storyteller.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He would embellish anything, and you would just laugh or just listen because you'd think like. The
stories were great, whether they were true or not. It was a good storytelling.
He can't be telling the truth.
Yeah, but it was a great story anyway because it was so detail-oriented. You have to believe it's almost the truth. That's how he got away with telling a lot of his, fibs, because there was so much detail in it that you're like, there's no way this guy made up the story. Because how would he know what the guy was eating for breakfast and what song was playing in the restaurant and what the girl was wearing, the scarf she had on, and he knew everything. He must, they have those people that they remember every single thing that ever happened to them.
Yeah,
it's like a special gift, memory gift. I forget what it's called. It's like a photograph. It's beyond the photographic memory. It's an exact. You don't forget any detail about anything. You can tell people what you ate for breakfast on like January 4th, 1997. You'll know. And it's a total recall of everything you've ever done. I think Nasser had that, to be honest with you. Although Milos might have that too, because Milos.
Yeah, no, Milos does too. Milos has, yeah.
He's got a lot of recall.
They could go on tour together, Milos and Nasser.
But the funny thing was they didn't like each other. They used to like they were like from the same country too.
Yeah, they were best friends at the beginning, and then it all
fizzled.
Went to hell, and there was no bracelet involved and nothing.
no one owed anyone any money.
Yeah.
Although it's questionable, no, I'm not going to even go there. That's just personal stuff. I don't even want to touch it with a 10-foot pole. All right, I'm trying to look and see what happened. We did have some shows this past weekend. The San Antonio Classic, Pro Men's Physique. Kamani Victor from Canada won. I wonder if they reversed that name. I don't even know who he is. He'll call me up and say, "What do you mean you don't know who I am?" Now I have to get him on for an interview because I don't know him. Ashwin Lucas, second. Third place, Lyndon Bond. Pro men's physique. Oh, they have you know I don't like the Masters when they do the Masters. Danny Dahl won the Masters, and they had classic. They had pro bikini. Marsha Goncalves won. She requalifies for the Olympia. Monica Ellis second. Jordana Lee third. And they had, what the hell was that? Oh, there was two pages of bikini competitors. Can you believe it? And the Masters was won by Elise Angela Angel. Two angels in her name, from Brazil. She won. All right. Was there anything that they had Bob Ciccarello had that pro qualifier, I think in England, was it?
Yeah, I had somebody in the show.
Any pro cards on your part?
No, I got second to, of all people, a Kuwaiti. I almost died. I'm just kidding. But the kid, it's one of these things. I'm like, you're going to be, just his condition was beyond over the top.
Yeah.
And I thought that would carry him. But because he was definitely the sharpest in the class.
Sure.
But, to his credit, I said, who could possibly, how did you lose? You know what I mean? Who could possibly be that hard? He said, no, nobody was harder. Just someone who beat me had really nice shape. I said, you have good shape. He said he had great shape. I said, well,
there's always someone better than you out there. I always say that.
It's nice when you hear a competitor say, like, the guy's, were a good winner.
Yeah, no, that's he didn't go out and beat anyone up in the crowd after the show. All right, John Lindsay had the IFBB Border States Pro Figure division. Michelle Lindsay wins that. Karina Gra from Paraguay was second. And third place was Osiris Trump. No relation to Donald.
None.
Maybe there is. She's Trumpe. Maybe it's Trumpy.
Trumpy. Maybe Trump may put a trademark on his name. You can't.
No one else can have his name anymore, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they had that amateur Olympia in the UK. Good for Bob. Bob's becoming a businessman. That's good. I think it's cool that they're giving out more pro cards nowadays in these other countries. Don't you think?
I think it's tremendous. It's tremendous.
It's interesting that they had that on the same weekend as they had the Arnold Classic Spain, or Arnold Classic Europe, as they call it. As people might know, there's a split in the IFBB, and then
the Arnold Finland, Spain. What were they? Because
the Arnold Europe, which has always been an IFBB Pro contest. It's now an IFBB Elite Pro, which is the Rafael Santoja sanctioned event. So some of the Arnold Classics are IFBB Pro League, which go to the Mr. Olympia, the Arnold USA, and the Arnold Australia.
Is that going to continue like that, or
they're split. And the Arnold Brazil, the Arnold Europe, and the Arnold South Africa is still with the IFBB Amateur League, what they call their IFBB Elite Pro League. And I saw the winner of the show. Not very good. Of the Elite Pro show. Obviously, they're trying to build up a pro league.
Just tell me, what was the prize money at the Arnold?
Good question. I have no idea. I could look that up if you'd like.
What is the fan base?
It was never big though. Was it ever big though? Even when Rami won it? What was it that year?
No. Well, I went the year. The last year I went was when Dexter beat Rami. Right?
The year that Rami should have won, you mean?
Yes, and that was a massive show.
Yeah.
Like, amazing success. So, it's just weird, like, getting to see, as a fan, the Dexter, Rami, Roden, Bonac, Rowley lineup versus, the 5 people who we don't know. I mean, right?
No, I agree with you. It's.
I mean, so as a fan, or even if a sponsor, I mean, you're sponsoring the show, and like, you know, you can't say that those people that I just named don't bring people through the door, and, you know, create an excitement about the show, whether you're a bodybuilding fan or not, or just, you know, you make protein brownies or something. I mean, you want to display at a place that has headliners.
Of course.
So it doesn't make any sense that, you know, as a sponsor or even a fan, you want to go and say, okay, God, I was here 2 years ago, and Rolly, Bonac, you know, Ramy, Dexter, and Roden were here, and now it's, you know, down to, you know, some guy from somewhere battling out some other guy that nobody really knows about.
Yeah, it's a shame, you know, that the whole thing split up. But
it's not to kick those athletes who we don't know their names under the bus, but they can't hold the pail to those people we just talked about. It's bizarre.
It's a shame that there's a split, just because, you know, it's something like I know I would like to go to. You know, I used to like that show. Obviously, I've been busy the last 2 years with the kids, but I mean, when I went there, we had a good time there. I mean, it was well run, and obviously Arnold's there, and so, you know, it's split up now. That's what it is. It is what it is. But I guess Arnold has, you know, he had, you know, Rafael Santoa. That's his backyard there. I mean, that's where he lives. So of course that's going to be a stronghold for his, you know, his organization, and that's why, you know, they're branching out. But I think what they're doing, what's good about it, the whole split, is that it made bodybuilding more available in these other countries, because the U.S. was solid. You know, it was well run. It was a lot of opportunities, pro cards available, but you couldn't get a pro card in these other countries. You had to do like if you won the, let's say you won the Mr. Spain or whatever, or you won your country's, you know, championship, that didn't entitle you to a pro card. You had to go to the World Championships, and that's all the countries now. Now they're getting one pro card from all the countries, you know. So it was very hard to turn pro if you weren't, you know, American. Now they're having all these national shows. Like, I know Bob Chickarell's putting on these couple shows a year in the UK, and it's open to pretty much anyone in Europe. So you're getting all these people coming over and competing. They're having the whatchamacallit, in India they have the, what's it called, Sharu Classics.
Yeah. Yeah,
These
well, you know,
Indian guys couldn't get pro cards anywhere. Nothing. The organization wouldn't even let them leave to compete anywhere else. So now you can actually go there and win pro cards. It's great. I mean, I have a lot of athletes from India that I work with, and so it's a great opportunity for these guys, you know, to actually earn pro status. So I mean, it actually opened up the bodybuilding world. So, you know, I always say there's always good that comes from something bad. You know, you never want to see people, you know, split up, but sometimes it opens more opportunities up. So for the bodybuilders, I think it's a blessing. And people can choose where they want to go. You know, you don't have to stay with one organization or another. You know, also the good thing is that, you know, not everyone wants to be in the biggest. You know, not everyone wants to do the Mr. Olympia. They might want to be a champion in a smaller organization because they can do that. Maybe at the Mr. Olympia level they can't get there. You know, so it's an opportunity, I guess. But I always say that, look, I always want it to be the best. And if I want to be the best, I have to compete with the best. And I wanted, when you hear the Mr. Olympia title, that's where you want to be, right? The goal as a bodybuilder, if you want to be the best, would be to get on the Mr. Olympia stage and win the Mr. Olympia. Can't do that through any other organization.
Well, it's, you know, period.
Period. That's the end of it. Yeah, that's right. End of story.
I mean, that's the oddness of those shows, right? I mean, it's just weird that you know, they're a means to wear.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're a feeder for what? They're a feeder for what?
For nothing.
Yeah. No, you're right.
That's you know, it is what it is, I guess. You know, like I said, I always say, opportunity is what really makes our sport go around. Now, you sent me this thing. This was pretty funny. I don't know if this was a true story, but there was this graffiti artist, Banksy. His name is.
Yeah.
He's a painter.
He's an anonymous. Yeah.
He had one of his paintings sell on auction at Sotheby's auction house in London for $1.4 million. And after it was sold, minutes after it was sold, the thing self-destructed.
Yeah, it's like a weekend contract for Blackman. Shreds after 48 hours.
An imagery of Banksy's girl with the red balloon painted that self-destructed just moments after being sold in London. The iconic image of a girl reaching out for a red heart-shaped balloon sold for $1.4 million, and moments later, a shredder hidden inside the artist's frame started to do its thing, and it self-destructed. Banksy summed up the stunt with this quote on his Instagram account: "Going, going, gone," and posted a picture showing stunned onlookers as the shredded art emerges from the top of the shredder. As the shredded art emerges from the bottom of the frame. It appears we just got Banksy'd, Alex Branchik, Soothby's senior director of contemporary art, said in a news release. So what happens when you do that? You buy a painting, you pay $1.4 million, and then it self-destructs. Do you have to actually pay that money, or you think?
No. Sotheby's, has it insured and take the loss.
All right, now this guy must be a fucking complete nutcase, right? I mean, he sold the painting for $1.5 million, and now he's $1.4 million. And now he's got to give the money back.
Well, I don't know.
Or he doesn't get the money now.
Yeah. He don't care about the money.
He obviously doesn't. What a fucking lunatic this guy is.
Yeah. Well, it creates more buzz, but because people don't really technically know exactly who he is.
Right. It could be some like guy like. What Jerry Beck should do this stuff. Jerry Beck's a great artist. Fucking Jerry, go out there, draw a couple of fucking pictures, and do a couple of publicity stunts. Go jump into the ring and beat up Conor McGregor after he wins a fight and say, "Here's my art, buy it."
Dave, I don't know what made me just think of this. Before I forget, I don't know how we got. Oh, I mentioned Bleckman's 48-hour contract shreds after. Goes up in smoke after 2 days. At the Olympia, you would text me, and I got backstage, and you said, "Find Roden and make sure he does an interview with me after the show."
Right.
David Bay came up to me with a straight face and said, I can't believe Bleckman locked up Roden for the weekend." I'm like, what the?
You're breaking your balls.
He caught me off guard because I was thinking maybe he.
Yeah. You knew that Sean wouldn't be that stupid because he didn't.
No. But for one blip, second, I was like, I was just, I don't care anyway, But I realized.
I'm looking at this picture. It's just nothing special. I mean, how do these artists become such eclectic, artists where people want to spend this much money on them? Does it go back to the whole hype thing?
It's a little boy flying a balloon or watching a balloon.
It's a little girl reaching for a red balloon, a little heart balloon.
And what's it it represents the Olympia slipping out of Phil's hand. I don't know. It represents things to different people, and
but why? I don't understand why people. Paintings are so weird. There are certain paintings that are amazing. There's certainly no painting in my mind that's worth $350 million, but I understand, like, for museum pieces like the Da Vinci's and Michelangelo stuff and Picasso's, and these are like priceless, like, relics. But I don't know. Should I use my father's term? Pop culture. These pop culture things.
Three dogs playing poker. What was?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't get it. But then again, I don't know. I guess I don't understand art.
Yeah, neither do I.
But the guy's got to be a complete nutcase, that causes painting itself. Unless he's so smart marketing wise that the next one he does will be worth $3 million because of that.
Well, that's part of it. The weirdness of. I mean, he just, he just added to his mystique, I guess, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Now there was a study, Chris, that came out. I want to talk to you about. People, I got to thank all our listeners because our listeners send me everything. Sometimes I know about it, sometimes I don't, but I appreciate it. So if you guys hear stuff or do whatever, you always send it over to me. All the Phil Heath stuff that was sent to me, I had heard a couple of the things before, but they love to filter in all this stuff. Did you see this? Here's a juicy piece of gossip, because they know I'll talk about it, and go crazy on it if necessary. A new study showed that the more LDL or bad cholesterol that you have, the more muscle you build during resistance training. Now, I read this title, and I'm like, something's not right about this. Now, obviously, you do need cholesterol in your body. I always say that. Cholesterol is the building blocks of all the steroidal hormones in your body. So cholesterol turns into pregnenolone, which is the rate-limiting step. And then pregnenolone is like the precursor to everything. Testosterone, DHEA, androstenedione. It basically goes cholesterol, pregnenolone, DHEA, androstenedione, and then testosterone. And then it can go to estrogen, obviously, and it can switch it around to all these other different isomers in between. So you do need cholesterol, and that's why I always tell people, like, especially the long-distance runners who eat no fat in their diet, or these natural bodybuilders that eat zero fat. You can't make testosterone if you eat zero fat. You need saturated fat in your diet. Now, if you're taking steroids, you can kind of cheat that effect because you're taking the testosterone. But there's other steroidal hormones in your body. Aldosterone, corticosterone, and all these DHEA, all these hormones are necessary for building and repairing muscle. So of course you can't have zero LDL cholesterol. You got to ingest some forms of fat and saturated fat that has cholesterol associated with it. So in a sense, yeah, of course, if you don't eat anything and then you eat some, you're going to build more muscle. And I think that's where the study is a little skewed. But I always had low LDL. I still have low LDL cholesterol. I used to eat McDonald's every day. I used to eat 1 million calories a day, right? I had low LDL cholesterol. Just because genetically, I probably just don't have high LDLs. And it is what it is. And they show that eating cholesterol doesn't mean that you're going to have high LDL. It means that eating a lot of sugar will make you produce a lot of LDL. So LDL is the cholesterol that kind of just carries. It's a carrier for cholesterol that carries it around the body, and a lot of times if you have too much of it, it will dump it into the blood vessel walls, and you'll get blockages. HDL is your good cholesterol carriers. It kind of scoops up the vacuum cleaner of the body. It scoops up the bad cholesterol. This study obviously focused on the LDL cholesterol, okay, and they wanted to show a correlation between muscle building and this, and I think that they did, because if you have none, you're not going to build muscle because you have no precursors for testosterone. But this is really not relevant to bodybuilders who take anabolic steroids because they supersede that. Now, it is interesting that steroids do raise LDL cholesterol, so maybe that's a good thing, to happen while you're bodybuilding. My theory always was that we know that steroids suppress HDLs. But as long as your LDLs are not super elevated and they're in the normal range, you really have nothing to worry about in terms of plaque formation. And I never had a problem building any muscle, even with low LDL levels. So I think the study's a little skewed, and I don't want to really go into too much detail because obviously it might bore people or lose people because it's too technical. But the bottom line is that it's about moderation. If you're getting enough protein and you're getting enough fat, that's really the take-home message. You need to eat fat, and there needs to be a certain amount of the fat that you do consume coming from saturated fat. Okay, and it doesn't matter if you're on anabolic steroids or not, because there's still other steroidal hormones that need to be produced from this. And once again, talk to any woman or man that's a long-distance runner that eats very little fat, or a natural bodybuilder, they lose their sex drive. Why do you lose your sex drive? Well, it's not because you're hungry. You lose your sex drive because your testosterone level drops. And why are these guys' testosterone levels dropping in women? Because they can't make the stuff because they're not giving their body the precursors to it. So don't eliminate all fat from your diet. And that doesn't mean you need to eat fat every day in your diet. It means you need to eat it a couple times a week. Luckily, fat is stored. But when you get really, really super lean, it's good to start putting more fat into your diet anyway to kind of supplement, because we don't want to be deficient. We all know that we have essential protein requirements, but we have essential fat requirements too. And even though saturated cholesterol fats are not essential, they really are in a sense. They're not essential they're essential to building, to synthesizing certain hormones in the body. So I think the take-home message from the study, Chris, that I got was that you can't do extremes of anything. You can't extremely, just like you don't want your estrogen levels too low. You ever see these people, Chris? You probably have clients that come to you. They're like, I'm taking 3 Arimidex a day. I'm like,
every 3 hours.
I'm like, why? Yeah. Well, I don't want estrogen. My nipples are sensitive. I'm like, yeah, but you have zero estrogen in your body. You need estrogen to sensitize your androgen receptors. Oh, is that why I'm so flat? Yeah, that's why you're so flat. So extremes of anything in bodybuilding is not good. We're extremists by nature. Even if you train extremely, okay? If you don't have a plan, you just go to the gym and do 3-hour workouts every day, you're gonna burn out. You're not gonna recover from the workouts, and you're not gonna make progress. So it's controlled insanity. That's the best way I describe bodybuilding. It's control. It's having a plan. You look insane because of the plan, right? I mean, when I used to leave Thanksgiving dinner at my relatives' houses, and I'd be on the cell phone, or calling the Chinese restaurant to order my next 2 meals, people would be like, "What the hell are you doing? We just had Thanksgiving. We've been eating for 6 hours." Yeah, well, I'm not going to bed for another 5 hours. I got to eat at least 2 more meals. I said, you guys are going home and going to sleep. I'm going home and I have 2 more meals to eat. Because I'm growing. So I look insane, but I'm really not.
About your food, Dave.
What?
How obsessed were you about your food?
Oh, it was the most important thing. I knew it because I knew it was the most important thing for growth because I did experiments on myself. I said to myself at one point in my career, I'm going to try to get fat. I'm going to eat so much food, I'm going to try to get fat. And if I get fat, I'll just cut back the food. I never got fat. I just kept getting bigger and harder. So I knew that food was my rate-limiting step. Everyone else is different. There are people that can eat, 3 meals a day and put on so much muscle that they can't stop.
Totally agree.
Right? You know those guys, they get fat so easy, but they put muscle on real easy. I was the opposite. I knew that my rate-limiting step in my success in bodybuilding would be how much food I can get down my throat. And I knew that getting lean was never going to be a problem for me. It was a matter of just eating enough food in the off-season.
I told you before we started the show, I saw the Ask Dave segment where you were talking about
my 12 meals a day.
Yeah, the 12 meals a day. And, it's funny. Give me the year that was, roughly.
I'm going to say that was 96 or something like that.
Okay. Around 93, 92, 93, Jay would eat 10 meals a day. Mm-hmm. But he would, and I would spend like a weekend with him at his little apartment in Worcester. And as soon as he will tell you, as soon as he finished meal 1, and clean it up because he's a clean.
He was already cooking meal 2, right?
Yes.
Well, I got a better one for you.
It would be nonstop, and if I was there, he'd cook cook something for me. But it was nonstop. It would be like, 7:00. Okay, take him to 7:30 to cook. He'd eat it at 7:30 to 7:45. He'd clean up by 8, and in 90 minutes, or he'd be ready for meal 2. So that would mean like in 70 minutes.
That's funny. Yeah, when I was bodybuilding, my whole life was cooking all the time, or at least sourcing the food somewhere. Drinking mostly a lot of shakes. I drank too, because after a while you just don't want to eat anymore, and shakes become really easy to do. But the only person who I ever saw was more neurotic about meals was Kovacs. I know I tell a lot of great Kovac stories, but there's not many people that actually were more extreme than I was in anything. He wanted to be over 400 pounds, so my 12 meals a day was really not that impressive. It wasn't enough food for him. He would be his wife would have literally every hour on the hour would have either a shake sitting for him to drink, and it was the biggest shake you've ever seen. It was like using this tall. I'm like, why do you guys put so much liquid in this? She's like, oh, Greg he gags. He's gonna throw up. I said, just get it down. I said, it's too much liquid. The guy's, you're gonna have to put a catheter in this guy. He can't get up and go to the bathroom that many times a day. Which I wasn't sure if they put a diaper on him or not, but he might have had a diaper on him, during certain parts of the day, so he didn't have to wake up. I mean, he didn't have to sit up and go waste the energy to go to the bathroom. But it was true. Greg would have either a shake or a meal every hour on the hour. That was Kim's job, his ex-wife. They had to cook for him and make sure he got all of those meals in. Because think about it. He was 400 pounds. He had to eat an enormous amount of food. I think he was eating around 12 meals a day, too. I went to visit him. I stayed in his house, and she was cooking for me, too, which Kim is an awesome woman. She had, and the meals were delicious too. They weren't like, like some of these guys, they make these really dry meals. And I'm like, oh, how am I going to get this done? I was like going into the refrigerator and eating extra food. I couldn't wait to eat the next meal.
Yeah.
So, but that's the way to do it.
Kovacs was big enough that when both in the same year, the same 2-year period. The first time Jay met him and the first time Mike Francois met him, they're like, wow, there's this guy in Canada. He's huge. I'm like, what do you mean huge? I'm like, huge. I'm like, bigger than you? They're like, yeah, he's really big. And then I went to Canada once, and, I was up there with my ex, and I saw him at some gym, and I was like, that's got to be Kovacs, because, right, he was like 375 or something.
Yeah, he was huge, and he was tall, too, so it was like, you just saw him. You couldn't miss him. He was just a larger-than-life figure.
He was like the Canadian, he was the Canadian bigger version of, who's the guy who used to help? Who was like the tall, he won the North Americas. When he did, it was the greatest interview of all time you did. When
Big Sean Allen, yeah.
Sean.
He contacted me, Big Sean Allen. He wants to do it.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, he wants to do an interview. He wants to make a comeback in classic physique now.
No, he's going to come back and...
Because he's so tall. Think about it. He's so tall that he can probably make the weight. I mean, easy.
Yeah. I think I'm going to, after, the show, I'm going to Google your interview. Send me his interview when you interviewed him and when he won that pro card. That was the best interview.
I think I should put that one up again.
You should. I'm just going to say, Dave, you
classic.
should put it up in art because it's unbelievable.
You know what? He's going to be mad at me, Big Sean Allen, because you know what? I just did an interview with this kid he calls himself the Giant. He's 6'5". He just turned pro. He's a good, really good competitor. Johal, his last name is Christian Johal, and he's huge. He's a big kid. He's about 288 on stage. He's 6'5". He thinks he's the biggest. We thought he was the biggest, and I'm thinking, you know what? Now that you mentioned it, I'm like, Sean Allen might be taller than him. We gotta put these guys next to each other and see who's taller. He might not be the biggest, the tallest IFBB pro after all. I might have screwed up, and then I have to hear Sean Allen tell me off about that.
Yeah.
Come on, Dave. Bro, you know me. How big am I? I'm Big Sean Allen. That's why they call me big. I'm the biggest. No, Sean was the best. He was the best interview. If you wanted to get some sound bites, Sean Allen was.
Oh
was it.
God, he rivals NASA.
Yeah.
In terms of right?
Sound bites, sound bites.
Not Sean in terms of the embellishment.
I thought the two best interviews I ever did were that I can remember.
Let me guess.
Okay.
Sean Allen, and after the USA when the guy cried.
Yeah, but no, I'm just thinking in terms of guys that have big mouths and who just like to talk shit. I loved Ben White was a great interview too back in the day. Do you remember when I used to interview Ben White?
I never saw any of the interviews.
Blackman used to call him the Muhammad Ali of bodybuilding.
You sound like Howie Cosell.
Yeah. Well, he calls himself the showstopper, but Blackman was calling him the Muhammad Ali of bodybuilding because he was he had a lot of belief in himself. Ben White was, I got news for you, was one of the greatest genetic talents that never really materialized the way he should be. I helped him win the Tampa Pro Show. That was the highlight of his career, I think. And he was awesome there. But he always had injury. He was getting in. He would do stupid things, and he wasn't focused enough on what he was doing. I went up to. I gotta find that. It's probably on RX Muscle. That should be put up as a classic too. I went up to Albany. I drove up to Albany, and I did a whole day in the life with him. We went to the grass-fed buffalo farm where he. We rode on the hay truck where he gets his meat, right where they grow, they grow it, right in Albany there. It was great. It was a great interview. I got in his house there. I was interviewing him about everything. He's a great character. Him and Sean Allen, two best characters, I think, that I've ever interviewed. He got it, too. He understood the whole showmanship of everything, but he did a lot of bros versus pros challenges, won a couple of those, too. He was a great bencher. He was
very strong.
He had a 600-pound raw bench. I mean, it was just crazy. He just was, what it is? He had all these genetic gifts, but he just didn't do enough with it.
Yeah,
he could have gone further. I just think sometimes you just have to have focus. He had a rough childhood too. Good story to tell. A lot of people don't know it. if you could probably Google it on, not Google, but you probably could use the search function on the rxmuscle.com website if you want to watch it. I'll find it. I'm gonna put that day in.
Put
the
it
live
up on the YouTube. Yeah, put it up on the YouTube.
Yeah, I think it's worth it. I think it was. I spent a lot of time doing it. It was a 3-hour drive up to Albany both ways. So
put that up and put the Sean Allen interview up.
Yeah.
Where can I find the Sean Allen? It's a definite.
It's
you know
gotta
what
be
I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, no, I
When
know.
he
Yeah.
He just went off, man. It was like in a fun way,
Yeah,
I mean,
he was
went off and
poor.
lost his
Poor. What's his name? Who was the guy he beat?
Whoever he beat, he
and you know who he beat. He was really, really genetically gifted too. What the hell's his name? I can't remember. He mentally beat him.
Yeah.
He got his pro card though eventually though. I'm blocking him out. I don't know. I have his. I have
good.
him right in my.
Did pretty well in like the first 2 or 3 pro shows he did.
Yeah, he's
Forget his name.
Okay.
Eddie. No, is it Eddie?
No. He's from Jersey.
Jewett.
Oh yeah, Drew Jemmett.
Thank you.
Poor Drew. Drew should have won his pro card like 5 times, and then Sean Allen decides to make the comeback, and Sean is just trash talking this guy, and he's like, he can't peak when he's a choker, he chokes, and he's like, and it was great. It was great interview stuff because I'm like, this guy's out of his mind. He's gonna get if he doesn't beat Drew. Drew's going to be rubbing his face in it, but he did it. Sean Allen delivered. I don't know how he did it, but he won.
He looked tremendous for the show. That's why he did. He looked tremendous.
He just pulled it out, yeah. And everyone wanted to see. It was like you wanted to see Sean Allen win because you wanted to watch the interview with me afterwards. You knew it was going to be a great, larger than life interview.
Yeah, that was like interviewing Muhammad Ali.
Sean was a great winner, terrible loser, great winner though. He loved to win. I got to give him that much. The guy loved to win. Anyway, so I don't even know what today's show was really about. It was about a lot of random stuff, but it was bodybuilding related. So hopefully people like. I think they like sometimes when we talk about the old days and we go off topic. But the truth is, this was kind of like it was a good week for bodybuilding, but it wasn't like there wasn't any real extreme contests or anything like that.
Well, I mean, we're coming off the Olympia, so everything's going to feel like it's, sloping downhill from there.
Yeah, you're right. True.
Oh,
True.
Wait, you got to put in a plug for next weekend's Dominican show with De La Rosa and Victor Martinez. They're promoting a show down in the Dominican.
Yeah,
Pro
we
show.
mentioned it last week. It's pretty cool because I think this is the first pro show they've had there, right?
Of course, gotta be.
I can't imagine there having been another one there.
You and I would go together and just love that place, I'm sure.
Now, it's a pro show, so I guess, I'm assuming they have an amateur show held in conjunction with it, right?
Yeah, I think they're having a big amateur show as well.
Good for them. I want to wish them the best of luck. You know what, Victor, I was surprised that Victor hasn't gotten into show promotion because a lot of people like Victor. Victor's a likable guy. He's had a lot of mishaps in his life. He's made a lot of money. He's lost a lot of money. We've had him on the show. Great. He's a great interview too.
Oh, that was a killer interview you do with him.
Yeah, he was really good.
Yeah, that one back.
Yeah. He was great. But you know what? The truth is, he's a likable guy. He's kind of like a victim of his own circumstance. Sometimes he doesn't make the smartest decisions, but the bottom line is that he's likable. If he did a show in every country, I'm sure he would find a bunch of people to help him promote the show. That's just Victor. Victor's got a very good personality, and he knows how to connect with people. So I'm surprised we don't see more Victor Martinez shows.
Well, that, and add to it that Victor's another one of these guys. Not another one of these guys, but... I was just thinking of Victor the other day. It's funny you say that because I was thinking, he won the, GNC and the New York Pro. How many years ago was it? I was just calculating that the other day for some reason.
That might have been the best they ever looked. Yeah. That's
true. And all those years, Victor's really not said anything negative about anyone.
No, he's great like that. He's unless you attack him
with the right too. Certainly with the right too. Meaning,
if you attack Victor, he's got dirt on everyone, Victor. So you're a fool if you do that. I'm looking up the information on the show right now. They don't even have the competitor list up yet. I hate this that they do this. I don't understand why they don't put the competitor list up early. It's so ridiculous. So it's in Punta Cana, the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino. They're having a classic physique, bikini, and 212. And then they're having an NPC show as well. And they're giving a pro card out to the winners.
In the amateur. They're
having an NPC amateur, and they're giving out pro cards in all the divisions. That's great.
You know that? Are you serious? Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Hold on. They're giving a pro card, right?
Yeah, to all the winners.
Oh my goodness! I just, remember when we started the show and I said the guy was ripped out of his mind and he lost his
equation? Send your guy over there. Yeah, get him on a plane.
I said you got to find the show right away.
There you go. It's a good thing you brought it up. You didn't even realize.
I'm gonna text him.
Yeah. See, it's a good, and it's probably not too far away. We probably can jump on a plane and get over there.
Give him a heart attack.
Maybe I should get Victor on the show this week to talk about the show.
Yeah, you should.
I can get John on too. Maybe let's see if Victor's available. Victor's probably already down there partying it up. No, I'm just kidding. Victor's probably working his ass off for the show because look, at the end of the day, when you're done competing, and you have no sponsors left, you gotta make a living. So this is great for both Victor and John. Maybe they can go from the Dominican Republic and hit a couple of these other countries, these Spanish-speaking countries. They obviously have that ability. Although I'm not sure Victor actually knows how to speak Spanish. I'm not convinced of it. We were in Spain together and in Barcelona, and I was like, Victor, we were trying to find a McDonald's to eat at because every place just sucked there, and we were starved, him and I. This was when I was guest posing. I think this was in the year 2000 or 2001. And I'm like, Victor, can you please ask someone on the street where the freak the McDonald's is? He's like, I can't understand what they're saying yet. I said, Victor, you speak Spanish, don't you? He's like, yeah, but they don't speak my kind of Spanish here. I said, what does that mean? I'm the dumb fucking idiot. I figure Spanish is Spanish, but they speak the Castellano in Spanish.
Yeah, a little bit more formal.
In Barcelona, it's like completely different. It's not even just Madrid Spanish. It's like completely different. And Victor speaks like Spanglish, street
New York
Spanglish.
Spanish.
Yeah.
New York Spanish.
Totally different. Can't understand a word. He couldn't understand a word this person was telling him. He's like, I don't know. I heard something about the name of the street. I said, Victor, I heard the same name of the street. You don't know anything else the guy is saying to you?
See? You were panicking about your 12 meals a day.
I was. Back then, that was very important to me. I needed my McDonald's, and I needed it every day.
You rubbed off on your boy Juan Morel.
Yeah.
He's the new McDonald's king.
Now that I think about it, that appearance that I made, there was a good bunch of people there, actually. It was Matt Duvall was there.
Yep.
The late Matt Duvall. It was Victor, Matt. Dorian was there. I believe Dorian and Victor were getting stoned a lot.
Yeah, 1990. Let's see. So Dorian would have still been
2000. 2000.
Right?
2000.
Oh, okay.
The Dorian was retired, and I'm trying to think who else was
what
there.
were you guys doing there? Like a trade show?
It was like an expo and a guest pose. We all guest posed there.
Well, you were there from what, Metrex or?
I think I was. They just flew me in on my own just to guest pose there. They just contacted me, and I didn't even know those guys were going to be there. And Nicole Rolla-Lazo, she was a fitness competitor at the time. I remember she did a great routine there. And I think I got drunk drinking tequila with Victor, I believe. And I think I got stranded. I think everyone left, and I was like looking for a ride. I somehow flagged down a cab or something like that. I was a little drunk. I never used to really drink or anything like that. But when in Rome, you got to do like the Romans do. And this was the thing that was driving me. I had something on my head. I thought it was a cyst, a little cyst in my head. And about a week before this appearance, Dr. Blau had removed it, and it wasn't a cyst. It was like a blood vessel that had I don't know. It had just gotten big, and so it wouldn't stop bleeding. And I had it packed and everything like that, and it was just. And it was. I traveled to Europe with it still bleeding, like it would just ball up. And what I would do is I would squeeze it like to get the blood out, but it wasn't infected. It was like a blood vessel that had just like almost like an external aneurysm. Like it was just It just was there. It was like, and it was under my hairline, and it was driving me crazy, and it was just terrible. And I just wanted to get through the guest posing. And I remember when I got back to the hotel after that night. You know, and alcohol makes you bleed more, right?
Yeah.
I fell asleep and I woke up in the morning and there was blood all over the pillow. It looked like someone got murdered in the bed. Yeah.
What about? Did you fly the business class or regular class?
No, I never ever asked anyone to fly me business anywhere. Never. And you know why? Because I thought it was a waste of money. And believe me, I needed the space in the plane. I never had the audacity.
I'm thinking the poor person who had to sit next to you with all the food and the meals.
I always try to find the one seat in the plane that had like someone left next to them.
And what would you do? So it was a long flight, and you were like 300. You'd eat like every 90 minutes.
Yeah, it was the worst. I would be sweating the whole time. I'd be so uncomfortable. I hated flying. Hated it. Now I love it.
Well, what would you pack on the food on the plane to be able to eat?
Oh, I'd bring a million meals. I'd chicken. I'd bring shakes. I'd bring I'm trying to think how I used to pack my food.
And what would the people think you were crazy next to you?
I bring. I would bring Tupperware containers with me with the meals all packed in them, like tuna and rice, chicken and rice. With like maybe some avocados, nuts in there, and I would just have like it would be the same meal over and over because I was like a machine. I didn't care. I just didn't want to miss eating. Picnic. Yeah. The problem was that
people sitting next to you would be like amazed, like, oh, this guy just ate like 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, but you know what? No one would say a word to me because they were petrified of me because I looked like. First of all, you got to remember on the plane I was always so hot, so I would be in a string tank top and the shortest shorts you can ever imagine. I would take my shoes and socks off. Seriously, I'm not kidding, because I couldn't get cool enough. There was no way that my metabolism would allow me to ever be cool enough on a plane. And then I would bring sometimes I'd bring the fan that the Kovacs bought me, the battery operated fan. And I'd have that. I'd sit that right on the little with the tray where you eat your food.
What would the stewardess say? What would the stewardess say?
They probably was petrified of me. No one would say anything to me, and I would argue with them. I called them over. I'm like, "Can you please fucking turn the air conditioning on in this plane? People are freezing." I'm like, "I can't take any more clothes off." I'm like, "Put a fucking blanket on these people." I've said this story before. I said, "Please, do you see the sweat dripping off of me?" Yeah, they probably thought I was dying or something like that. Something wrong with this fucking guy.
No, because tell me, you used to wear, spandex in a string tank top in the middle of the winter everywhere.
Yeah, no, I didn't even wear spandex. I wore like shorts.
But I didn't get your shoes and socks off.
Oh, I had to. I couldn't get cool enough. You know how I'd be putting my feet on the metal.
Would you ask for like cold drinks or something? To
yeah,
cool
of course. Yeah, I'd have ice packs on my head if they would give it to me. I'd do anything.
Feel like the Hulk because you did play the Hulk on TV.
Yeah,
I mean,
but you got to remember, my legs were like 33 inches, and my arms were like 24 inches, 23 inches, whatever. So I probably looked. They probably thought I was a wrestler or something like that, So no one said anything. They were just, people would kind of like, they would come and ask me questions and stuff like that. So they were amused by it, I think, And I wasn't like a nasty guy. I was very nice to everyone, but I would be, if it was too hot on the plane, I would go crazy, I'd be like, I can't take it. I said, I'm gonna have an anxiety attack. I think they gave me oxygen once. They gave me oxygen once, Chris. True story.
For what?
They said, well, I said, I can't breathe in here. It's too freaking hot. Like, you want us to bring you oxygen? I'm like, if that's the only solution you have, yeah, bring me oxygen. See, if I had cell phones back in the day, man, I would have had some great classic footage.
Yeah, classic.
I'm just remembering it now from talking about it, but it's true. These are all true stories. Very true stories. And the seats were way smaller back then, and there was no leg room, so I would basically have to like slump myself down and like put my feet across the aisle, into a second seat. So if I had two seats to sit in, it was good. Like if the plane wasn't full and I had like a middle and an aisle seat, I can one of my legs would be in the second seat and my original leg would be in the first seat. And if I happened to be on a plane with like my ex-wife or someone like that, she got very little of her seat. I was basically in two seats, But that's the life of a bodybuilder, right? But going back to the original question, I couldn't ask. I said to myself, the flight can cost $350 or it can cost $3,000. I'm like, I can't do it. And you know what? I was cheap. I'd rather take the money. I'd be like, you know what? They'll be like, do you need to go business class? I'm like, you know what? No, just
I'll take the money. I knew you'd say that. I'll take
pay
the
me
money
half the
and-
money. Pay me half the money in cash extra. So instead of paying me, $1,500, give me $2,500 for the appearance, and you can fly me regular class. They're like, oh, all right, no problem. That's great.
I'll drive, Dave. I'll drive.
I'll drive it. Yeah, I'll drive across the Atlantic. But no, it's true. I'd rather put the money. It was so what? It was like a little bit of uncomfortableness for the extra money in but that's what you have to do if you want to make money. If you want to pay your bills, you can't be foolish. Don't go asking for a million things. If you show these promoters that you're willing to go the extra mile for them, they'll give you extra money, and for the appearance, because they're going to save the money and they're going to be like, this, this guy's a good guy, and they're going to hire you back. That's always something I always thought about. Whenever I would do I always wanted these promoters to feel like they were getting their money's worth from me. So I would always. So not only did I do guest posings, but I always did seminars. I said, you know what? You guys should have me do a seminar and charge for it if you want. I don't want any money. You guys are flying me in. Get your money's worth out of me. Promoters love that. That's why I have a lot of good friends that are promoters, because I did a lot of good stuff for these guys. And for a couple of years, I was booked 25 weekends a year,
You think if you're Mr. Olympia, you'd be a good ambassador back in the day?
Yeah, I think I would have been. I think I would have been.
God,
I think it would have been too controversial maybe for them to be Mr. Olympia, because I was too open about talking about drugs and stuff like that and answering everyone's questions. But I think I would have been a good ambassador, because I think I would have. I was doing a lot of TV stuff back then too, Chris. I was doing commercials and like appearances on the Conan O'Brien show, David Letterman show. I would do anything. I never turned down an opportunity, because you never know where it led to.
You haven't changed, Dave, because you never.
It's true, because you know what? I'm always petrified that if I turned down something that would be one thing that I would have propelled me to stardom.
Yeah. So this oxygen brings us full circle back to the Craig Titus.
I've turned down some silly documentaries where they want to bash the athlete. I know I'm smart enough now. I have wisdom. I know when they're trying to depict bodybuilding in a bad light. And I got sucked into a couple of documentaries that I really didn't like the way they came out. But I knew this was just about Craig, and I figured that I can offer some. I wanted to offer some humor. I wanted to offer some insight as to the fact the way I knew Craig and Kelly. And, it turned out to be more of a factoid type documentary of what happened. Yeah. But I was basically giving, my own input on, validating what they were doing and why Craig was doing this or why Kelly was doing that. And so they used a couple of good lines for me. People, it makes it more, it always makes it more enjoyable when you know someone in the documentary.
Of course.
I love watching the ones where Romano's in and just other people, because I'm like, oh, I know that guy. And I want to see what he's going to say. And so it's more enjoyable to watch these things, Obviously, just knowing Craig and Kelly makes the thing enjoyable, but I'm like a bonus planet, man. That's all. I'm like the sword, the clown jester down there. I love to watch how they film these things too, because they had me in this hotel room. It was dark. They had the whole room dark, and they just had the studio lights on me. So it blacks out the background. So I'm like sitting in a black background, but I'm lit. It's like an interesting look, I always get ideas when I see how they film on TV too.
I knew you'd say that. I knew you're gonna take something from that. Just the way they.
You know what they do on TV? They actually they film the silence. At the very, very end of the interview, they filmed silence. They're like, don't talk. I'm like, what are you doing? They're like, we're filming the silence. I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, well, because it's not really silent. There's always the noise of the camera, even though it's very subtle. There's always a hum of the lights. Mm-hmm. I'm like, really? So what do you do with that? They're like, well, we remove it. So we film it, and then the new software they have, they take that sound, which really you could, and they take it out so that it's perfectly the voice. My voice is perfect, And I'm like, does it really make a difference? They're like, probably most people can't pick it up, but on a subtle level, it does. It just makes it pure. I said, wow, that's pretty cool. I said, I brought Tyler with me to the thing. He was doing some behind the scenes filming. I'm like, Tyler, can you remove the sound? He's like, don't even start. He goes, don't even start. I said, all right. I won't be too much of a stickler. I said, if we ever interview Kai Green, you remove the silence from the room.
Well, when's that interview coming out?
What?
Well, if you got Phil,
I know. Kai's the next one.
and you down to Kai and Arnold, that's all. It doesn't seem to be able to get those two.
Arnold might be coming up. You never know. There might be some opportunities presenting themselves, right, Chris?
Well, we'll see.
Yeah. All right. We went way over that I wanted to go over anyway. We're at 1:30. We haven't done an hour and a half show in a long, long time. People yell at me. They're like, I want you to go back to those 3-hour shows you guys used to do.
I know. I was just thinking of the 3-hour shows. Tell people you can't do the 3-hour shows because Dave can't start till midnight.
That's right. I said, I wish I had 3 hours to give you guys every week.
What did I tell you today? I said, Dave, I have to set my alarm to do the show because I can't stay awake at night anymore because I still get up crazy early, but like 30 years of getting up early is catching up to me.
Yeah, well, I know this. You know what I did this past weekend? This is how crazy. I don't sleep anyway, so I'm like, you know what? Why bother sleeping? A friend of mine was selling some reptile racks. This goes back to like plane tickets. I don't like to go first class. I don't like to. I hate wasting money on buying these new racks for the reptiles for the snakes to live in. They're really expensive. Some of them could be a couple grand, So when people are selling the ones that they don't want, or maybe they're not breeding anymore and they have something to sell, I'll buy them if I can go drive and pick them up. So I rented a truck and I drove to. It was past Orlando, so it was like about a 3 hour 15-minute ride. I got up super early. I drove there. I actually interviewed him because he had an interesting new boa constrictor snake, and I packed up the truck that I had rented and drove it back and unloaded it. I was back by 1:00, so because I left like 6 a.m. So I don't waste any time, Chris. I'm serious about my getting shit done.
No, I mean, we'll do it this way. You sleep. If you sleep 8 hours a day, you fiddle around, right? 3 hours a day. There's 9, 10, 11. I mean, there's not a lot of time in a 10-year period active.
I'll admit one thing though, that I'm against stimulants. Well, I'm not against them. I don't use a lot of stimulants because I did have high blood pressure in New York. I don't know if I have it anymore. I've never measured one high blood pressure reading since I've been in Florida, but I still take blood pressure medication. So I don't do stimulants usually. I was falling asleep. I couldn't keep my eyes open in that truck because I only had like 4 hours of sleep the night before, and I'm like, it lulls you to sleep when when you're driving that long. And I'm listening to podcasts and stuff like that. So I said, I pull into this gas station. I go in there, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to do it. I bought my very first energy drink I've ever had. I've never had an energy drink. I bought a Red Bull, just a regular Red Bull, a sugar-free one, whatever. But it was like a small can, and I was drinking this thing. I was so wired on this Red Bull.
Sure.
And it doesn't even have a lot of caffeine, the Red Bull. I was so wired that I was like, holy mackerel. It woke me right up. It was like someone injected me with adrenaline or something like that. I was like, wow, now I know why people do these energy drinks. They work.
Yeah, but then they don't work for after,
Of course, they wear off really quickly.
That's it.
But when I got home and I was unloading the trucks and I was cleaning them, Amanda's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I had an energy drink. And she loves energy drinks. She's like, well, now you know why I drink them. But when the thing wore off, like about 4 hours later, I couldn't keep my eyes open. I was like crawling to my bed. I couldn't keep my eyes open. I crashed big time after, but I did it. There's always
that explains an hour and a half or a 2 hour radio.
There's something very, very soothing though about driving. I like to drive alone and just think, and just in a truck. And the good thing about a truck is I can't really speed in the truck because it has a speed limiter on it of 75 miles per hour, which is even better, which gives me, because when I'm in a car or I'm in my X5 truck, I'll go 100 miles an hour if I have to, if I don't think there's any cops on the road, because I got to make time up, but if I know I can't go faster than 75, and that's 70 is the speed limit anyway, then I'm kind of safe. I'm just kind of just cruising along, so I can just kind of just relax and chill out and focus on, think about, life. Because how often do you really get to do that, Chris, right?
The only time I get to is, a long drive or on a plane alone.
Yeah.
On a plane alone because I'm sequestered from,
Yep.
I don't have access to gadgets and, nobody's calling me and, the there's nothing to do really. So I take off my shoes, take off my socks, and that's you on the plane. And I just, write down. Usually, I write down like all kinds of things, that I want to accomplish or get organized on, or do or not do, prioritize. It's a reflection again of fast society, right? You're so busy, you can't really think. It's difficult sometimes to think clearly enough to figure out what it is that you want to do and what it is you want to stop doing that
Absolutely.
You might be doing.
I agree. And you know what? We need downtime like that. I wish I had more ability to do that, because I sometimes find that I all the chaos that's in my life, I kind of create law and order out of it. You know what I mean? I kind of make sense of it sometimes. And I think that sometimes we need that alone, quiet time to do that every once in a while, or you're just constantly running around with like a chicken with your head cut off,
No doubt about it.
And on that wise note, Chris, that's our quote of the week. Consolidate your thoughts.
The truth hurts.
Make them coherent, give them order, and your life will get order. On that note, we're out of time. Until next week, remember, with Heayy Muscle Radio, good night, everyone.